Alright, so today I will talk about like web agents and how you use them, and kind of like mainly the user facing ways to interact with them and use them, and also a little bit about like how you could like theoretically build one yourself, and like what I think are the drawbacks. It's more of an introductory video, because I'm still like figuring out how much I'm using and using what approach, and like what I find best, and what are kind of the drawbacks of each, and like what I might want to develop. But basically 3 ways to interact with them, like extensions, through extensions, a whole browser, or a web page. And then it kind of also varies from the degree of like where it's just for scraping, and for like actual tasks you want to just like get done while you're working. So for extensions, I think the most popular example is probably going to be Claude Code Chrome. It just works in Chrome right now, and no other Chromium browsers. So sorry if you're using Arc, it's not going to work. Browser, I think the most famous one there, like the browserOS one, and the Comet by Perplexity. Also, there's like the one by OpenAI, but I'm not using this because my Mac is not up to date for this. Yes, so those are the 3 main things. Each kind of have like a little bit of different issues they are facing, and also, the last one I didn't mention. The web page is like basically for example, the chatgpt. If you in chatgpt, where you have like the agent mode, if you have like pro, I think it's only if you have pro. Yes, and like this has an issue with the authentication. But it's like very nice to use, because you can use it like literally how you use chatgpt, and I think there's like a very cool. I think it's just alright. Like the authentication, how well it's integrated. This is a little bit of an issue. Also that, for example, if you're using it kind of the way, if you're trying to like do multiple tasks, it's not as nice as like just going to a new like chat window, because it's like, I'm mostly working in the browser, so while I'm working, it's a little bit distracting. I have to see whether it's like an actual issue. But right now my workflow anyways looks like this. I'm using like mainly one browser, and the other browser I'm like just dedicating only to the agent use. So like also you have to kind of look which are free. I'm using Comet because I get the student version for like free, and like the usage limits are insane. I have not faced any usage limits, even though I've used it a ton. Other than that, you probably have to like buy it. This is where browserOS, however, is cool, because there you can do like your own models, bring your own keys. Let's briefly jump to like the kind of the issues and like the good things. I kind of mentioned the authentication is like a little bit of an issue, because if you're using a browser, you need to like log in first into everything again, and it kind of breaks your flow sometimes. And other than that, web page is very bad. I hope ChatGPT fixes this at some point, because they could just like use, for example, like they could just copy the keys you have in your web page. Of course, like security wise, you might not want to have it done, but I would really like to have this. because I feel like this is the best way to interact. Yeah, and authentication usage costs. Again, like here with the comet one, I didn't face any. Other than that, I think if you like use it yourself, you like yeah, if you have to pay, I think you should be kind of it can get expensive relatively fast because it's like multi-model and it's using screenshots. If you use yeah, so if you use it, also if you like trying to use it for like tasks which are like list based, I don't know if you're like trying to figure out what 20 labs are doing, or I don't know, trying to figure out like how to use some web tool or whatever, then it might suck. Or like not one web tool, but like 10, because this is like then list based. Also for the first example I mentioned, I realized it's probably just better to use like the non-interacting tool. Like what I mean with this is like if you go to like a for example, if you go to chatgpt and you use like the internet version where it like searches things, like I mean now it's integrated anyways. Usage costs, if and then speed, of course, like it only makes sense if while it's working you can jump on something else. Yes, because otherwise you're just faster. And parallelization. Again, if you want to have the well, it kind of ties in with the usage cost, because everything which is like list based there, you want to have like some parallelization for it to be faster. Also, it kind of, I mean, my computer at least it kills, so this is why I'm also considering kind of expanding something I've been working on to make it like cloud based. Presentation of results. This I think, for example, Comet does very poorly. Some other models do it like semi better. Like I mean, the presentation like from chatgpt is very good because you can kind of replay and it kind of just summarizes your the results for you. Presentation, yeah. But ideally, I think it would be cool to have a summary of like what has been done, or that you can replay it at like, I don't know, 3-4 times the speed. And then authentication, yeah, I talked about this earlier. Then briefly, I don't want to make this video too long, but the models you can use, like they don't use any like normal models or like multimodal models. Use specifically computer use agents. I think it's like if you search CUA, then you will find the models. In case this is not listed, I think the one from browser use might be good, because I mean I've used it and it was like decent. I don't have any more benchmarks than this. Regarding benchmarks, you have the browser gym benchmark, and there are other gym benchmarks, but I've tried all of the top ones in their leaderboard and all of them suck. So yeah, don't really like, I mean those benchmarks, maybe they're good if you this would be an interesting thing to try out if you kind of like let those popular ones run with browser gym. Maybe they get like a much better score, but for example there are like a few which have like 74% they reach in the benchmarks, and they are like way too slow, and they are just not that good. Like they're way slower than those models. So yeah, it would be interesting because to use this and see how well those perform. Browser Gym, actually this is like the harness to get the results. The actual benchmarks are called a little bit different. If anyone is interested in this, I will like link this, but you can also just like look it up, benchmarks, and you will find like I think there are 3 prominent ones. Yes. And then also I think the main benefit of using web agents compared to computer use agents in general is that you can kind of like also use a script in the browser, and like you can see a little bit more of the code which you are not always able to see in like the computer desktop applications. So I think for those reasons it's kind of nicer. And yeah, so lastly, I'm already over the time, but the gaps. Yeah, so I think the coolest thing to work on is kind of increasing the parallelization and kind of just saying, hey, yeah, there's like a web page with like, I don't know, 10 entries of something, and please figure out or like do X for that. Yes, I think this, for me, honestly, this is the main use case. Yeah. Speed also would be cool if it's better, but like, I think this is actually what I think will be most interested in going forward. I will also make one update video probably when I've like used all of those things to the fullest and tried out everything, and then kind of see if there's still anything missing, or like actually this framing is wrong, like if I can find any hack of for this or like workaround, then I might continue working on this. If you've used any of those agents, please let me know, like kind of what issues you see, or like if you already implemented something else yourself. I would be very interested in this. Yeah, and I think this should be it. This is again sort of more like an introductory video, and kind of to get you started if you ever wanted to use it, and yeah, but like didn't know where to start. If you want to start, I would highly recommend to start on this on the browsers, because I think it's just the easiest, and also you don't need to if you're a student, you have it directly. Yeah, so I would use the Comet one, I think. Great.